Star Wars Clone Wars Season 7 kicked off a brand new arc this week on the Disney Plus app with the episode entitled Gone with a Trace. I'm Cape Joel, and this is the video series where I give my thoughts and feelings on the episode that was, while also shouting out any bigger themes and ideas I can find. So this was a very long-awaited episode for fans as we finally got to see what became of Clone Wars poster girl Ahsoka after leaving the Jedi Order in the fallout of her framing. Well, technically we're seeing it for the second time, as there used to be a novel that explained her post-Jedi history, but Disney never reprinted that like they did Sons of Dathomir, so we're officially in new uncharted waters right now. Right off the bat, you can tell we're going to be in for a very different type of episode. Unlike the Bad Batch arc, which was, adapting unfinished story reels, this is 100% new material, and it shows just how much the writers and animators have grown when it comes to building a mood and an atmosphere and setting the scene. As we join Ahsoka, things aren't going too good for her. She's on the run when her hoverbike breaks down over the infamous level 1313 on Coruscant. Rest in peace, that video game that never got made. A place where life is cheap and where everyone has their price. Ahsoka meets a young mechanic and would-be pilot by the name of Trace, the Trace that the title comes from if you can't tell. Trace begrudgingly agrees to help Ahsoka fix her bike after extorting her fails. Turns out Trace, like a lot of people on 1313, resent the Jedi for the ongoing Clone War, saying that they abandoned their roles as guardians of peace and forgot about the regular workaday folk on Coruscant. Honestly, you can extrapolate so much from this one tiny little exchange here. It makes a lot more in-universe sense now how someone like Palpatine would be able to rise to power by A, scapegoating the Jedi, and B, by the time that the original trilogy comes around, why people would refer to the Jedi Order as that old religion. This scene is great too because Ahsoka actually tries to defend the Jedi at first, but not very hard. After all, she's had her own views on the Jedi changed probably forever, and she knows firsthand just how hypocritical they can actually be when it matters. Sure, they might not have actually started the war with the Separatists, but they never found out Palpatine was behind it all after like 7 seasons of TV. Now, it turns out Trace and her older sister are actually a hawk to a local gangster, voiced by Bobby Moynihan, no less, making a return from the Star Wars Resistance series. This guy's bad news and wants to collect, so bad in fact he has no problem punching young women in the face. Ouch. Naturally, this means Ahsoka must step on in to save the day while also doing everything in her power to try and hide her Force abilities and make do without her lightsabers. I find it interesting too, in these scenes, Ahsoka is actually accompanied by a remixed version of Luke's theme. As the story progresses, Ahsoka ends up getting herself roped into a crazy droid scheme put together by Trace's older sister, Rafa. The second you see this lady, you know she's up to no good. She owes money all over town, and she's hoping to get out of Dodge by repairing some old loader droids. Hey, just like the one C-3PO started out working on, ain't that a fun little reference? Now, Ahsoka knows full well that these things could be used as deadly weapons if they ever lost their restraining bolts, and before you can say Roger Roger, one of the droids ends up going nuts and Ahsoka is forced to help Trace get it back. This leads to a very exciting chase all over 1313. They really show off the cityscape, the neon, the graffiti. They really are trying to dazzle the viewer here with visuals, and I gotta say, it works. The extra rub is that when things go wrong, like you know they will, Ahsoka can't just use her Force powers to bail them out of danger. I mean, yeah, eventually she is forced to do so, but they manage to build just enough anticipation and keep it going just long enough that when they actually do it, you're extra satisfied as the audience. In the end, the day is saved and the two sisters' debts are cleared, for now at least. Considering this is part 1 of a 4-part story arc, I doubt that things will be done nearly so easily, especially as I mentioned before, Rafa is pretty damn corrupt, and I wouldn't be surprised if she just pocketed the money. And so that was Gone with a Trace. Unlike the much more action-heavy arc that was the Bad Batch, this one was a lot slower, a lot more atmospheric, and a lot more based around character, which, speaking only for myself, is totally what I wanted from a new Ahsoka-centric arc. She's unsure of herself more than ever before, lost in a big universe that's changing rapidly. She's trying to find her place without the Jedi in her life while also questioning everything the Jedi taught her. It's really good dramatic stuff. And I'm sure by the time everything is said and done too, we'll eventually see Ahsoka travel down the path that will end with her becoming the fulcrum of the resistance that we saw in Rebels, and I personally can't wait for that. It also just so happened to be a big damn week for Ahsoka in general, because we also found out today that she's going to be in The Mandalorian, played by frickin' Rosario Dawson, meaning this character is actually making the jump from animation to live action, which hopefully means we can see more characters do the same in the future. Sabine. In summation, this was an enjoyable if slow burn start to this brand new arc, and I'm interested to see where we're going to go from here.